All right, everyone. So I want to give you guys some of my thoughts on the debate. I watched it last night, and to be honest with you guys, I did not finish the debate. I did not watch the whole thing. I know as someone who makes content on YouTube giving political commentary, it's expected of me that I would have watched the entire thing, but I did not. You know why I did not watch the whole thing? I be honest with you guys. I about faced after like 30, not 30. Yeah, maybe like 30 minutes into it. I just said, you know what? I think I'm done. And I started doing I did some cooking, and I was actually cooking as I was listening to the debate, and then I was eating dinner, and then as I was eating dinner, I was just watching other YouTube videos. I wasn't even really watching the debate because it was very, very anticlimactic. It was very anticlimactic, very bland and tedious. Bland is not really the right word. Anticlimactic definitely is a fitting word for what we saw, but really tedious is an even better word. Very, very tedious debate. Now, why was it so tedious? Because of the structure of the debate, the platform, the structure, the rule set. The rule set is just awful. It is a drag. It is mundane, boring, tedious, frustrating, jejune, just anticlimactic, nothing really interesting. Now, why do I say this? Because do you guys remember back in the day? Hold on. Do you guys remember back in the day watching Donald Trump debating Hillary Clinton? Do you guys remember those days? That was an epic debate. Wasn't that? It was a freaking epic ass debate. There was Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton looked like Kim Jong-un with that ridiculous outfit. She looks so, it just, anyone, I don't know, it just doesn't look good. That dress looks ridiculous. She looks like a dictator. And she's sitting there trying to debate Donald Trump, and there's Donald Trump just giving these hilarious remarks. Remember he told Hillary Clinton, oh, if it was up to me, you'd be in jail. I mean, that was just hilarious. It was unexpected, and it was hilarious. Do you remember when Donald Trump gave the most graphic description of abortion? He was like, oh, they take the baby, they tear it up to pieces, they put it through a blender. I mean, it was graphic, and it really hit people, and people who were pro-life were listening to that, and they were thinking, yes, Donald, absolutely. Give the graphic, bloody reality of abortion, yes. And I think what made that debate so good was that they had the freedom to disrupt each other. And you look at this debate that happened last night, and it's just, oh, Mr. President, your turn to talk. Okay, Mr. President, you have to shut up now. Mrs. Vice President, oh, hey, it's your turn to talk. Oh, Mr. President, Trump, no, you're going to have to shut your mouth. Blah, blah, blah. And it was just, it's like, oh my gosh. Bring me back to the days of Donald Trump debating Jeb Bush. Remember that? That was hilarious. Donald Trump debating Jeb Bush. Oh, high energy tonight. I really like that, Jeb. High energy. That's great. Or when Donald Trump debated all these GOP candidates and he just destroyed them. Ted Cruz, Rubio, Jeb Bush. I mean, just wiped these guys out. Listen, the Bush dynasty was already on one dying leg. Donald Trump, the Trump dynasty came in and just finished the whole house of Bush off. I mean, just destroyed whatever was left of it, the last pathetic remnant of the house of Bush, the Bush dynasty. It was gone like the frickin' Habsburg dynasty. It was done. The house of Bush was destroyed by the house of Trump. I mean, it was like European clan warfare, but in a political format. It was crazy. But what made those debates so good, right? Jeb Bush versus Trump, Trump versus Hillary Clinton. What made those debates so good was that these guys could disrupt each other. Now, I understand that in a debate, disruption has its limits, right? You can't just let disruptions happen with abandon. You can't have that because then it's going to be difficult for people to get their say. That's why you have moderators. But there should be some freedom for disruption. And it should be more of a conversation. And moderators should only intervene. They should only intervene when the disruption becomes excessive. Other than that, they should allow the whole thing to flow like a normal ass argument. Let people disrupt here and there. Let that happen. Let Trump get in a remark or two. Let him respond. I mean, it was just so mechanical and dry. It was nothing there. It was just, okay, Mr. President, your turn. Okay. All right, Vice President Kamala, your turn. And it's just stupid. It's so boring. It's so incredibly boring. So as I realized that I wasn't going to finish the rest of the debate, I realized that I was not going to finish it. I thought, this stuff is hella boring. And by the way, I mean, people for the most part have already made up their minds. I mean, they watch the debate. They know if you're a Republican, you're going to say Trump won. If you're a Democrat, you're going to say Kamala won, whatever. I don't think any of them really won the debate. And do you know why I say that? Because it was too structured. It was just like, okay, this guy got his turn. The other person got his turn. The other person can't really make a response because now we got to go to the next question. It was just way too structured. So, I mean, there wasn't really much of a form of a competition. It didn't really feel like a competition. It just felt like two people taking turns talking. And I decided, I'm just going to watch some movie scenes. And listen, a habit of mine now is I just watch scenes from movies that I love. Maybe it's just a part of getting old. I don't know, but you just say, you know what? I love that scene from Braveheart. I'm going to watch it. That scene when Robert the Bruce yelled at his dad, that was a great, great scene. Maybe it's the fact that I can't drink alcohol anymore because I have gout. So, hey, I've had to quit alcohol. No more alcohol. It's gone. Done. No more alcohol. Because when you got gout is the greatest AA. Alcoholics Anonymous. Gout is the greatest AA. Gout is the greatest rehab ever. Because this is what having gout is like. You drink a little bit of vodka, and 2 days later, somebody hits your toe with a sledgehammer. That's what it feels like to have gout. It sucks. But you know what? It gets you to quit alcohol. So, I haven't had alcohol for a while now, and maybe my brain is just like, hey, what happened to Mr. Vodka? Like, what happened to that? Where's the beer? Where's the good stuff? No, brain can't have that anymore. You know what? We got to find another way to stimulate the mind. Let's just watch some random movie scenes. So I started watching scenes from the film The Matrix. Yes, I started watching scenes from the movie The Matrix, and I watched what is probably my favorite scene in the entire Matrix series, and that is in the first Matrix movie when Morpheus takes Neo to the desert of the real. And if you have not seen The Matrix, the desert of the real is just the ruins of human civilization. Okay, I'm not going to explain the whole Matrix lore to you. The film came out in 1998. I'm sure all of you have seen it already. But anyway, Morpheus takes Neo to the desert of the real, and he says, welcome to the desert of the real. And it is the ruins of human civilization. Human civilization has been destroyed by machines, and so what is left of human civilization can be found in the desert of the real. It's basically a bunch of destroyed buildings and just remnants of human society and infrastructure. It's pretty depressing, but it's a desert. It's a desert with the ruins of human infrastructure. And Morpheus shows Neo that the machines have used humans as energy. And as they use the humans as energy, they have the humans plugged into a computer simulation. Now, why am I talking about this? Am I going to tell you that we're living in a computer simulation and everything is... No, that's obvious bullshit. I'm not a Christian Scientist. What I am trying to say is that much of politics and much of what is presented in front of us is basically made up. Or it is there for sinister motives and evil reasons and evil desires. And they use certain things as distractions to hide those evil motivations. And a lot of people are being carried away. A lot of people are being carried away, and I've talked about this before. A lot of people hate the media. And people say that Trump lost the debate, or that Trump didn't look good, and all that is meaningless. It really means nothing. You know why it means nothing? Because a lot of people hate the media. In fact, I would argue that most Americans hate the media. And the hatred is growing, and it's increasing, and more people are hating the media. Why do people hate the media? Because a lot of mainstream media has a bias. A lot of mainstream media is biased for a particular political party that a lot of people hate. A lot of mainstream media is more liberal leaning than conservative leaning. So you have tons of people in America who want to see media that agrees with their ideology. I mean, it's as simple as that. And to a great extent, the media has done it to itself. And what do I mean by that? Well, it used to be that you would have conservatives on big liberal-leaning mainstream outlets. So, hell, Michael Savage used to have a show on MSNBC. Yeah. It was either ABC or MSNBC. Pretty certain it was MSNBC. But Michael Savage had a show. Michael Savage, he used to be one of the biggest conservative talkers in America. I think his show was number 3 at one point in time. Number 3 in America. Had millions and millions of views. Millions and millions of listeners. And he used to have a show on, pretty certain it was MSNBC. And now MSNBC is like totally liberal. So they went way too into the liberal side, way too much into the liberal bias, and they left no room for balance. And then you have other stories that have gotten people to really hate the media. So, for example, one example is the Joe Rogan fiasco, where Joe Rogan was taking ivermectin for COVID, and then the mainstream media was making fun of Rogan, saying, oh, he's taking horse dewormer, and then Rogan brings in this Indian-American doctor who works for CNN. I don't remember his name, but he brings in this doctor who works for CNN to his show, Mr. Gupta, I think his name is, and Rogan just made this guy look totally foolish. I mean, Rogan just did circles around this guy because this guy is a doctor, works for CNN, and he said, and Rogan tells him, listen, why the hell was CNN making fun of me for taking ivermectin and calling it horse dewormer when billions of people take ivermectin and it's totally used by humans. It's not just something that horses use. And Gupta, whatever his name was, this doctor whoever, he just was sitting there with that smile looking very, very awkward. And people said, you see, this is why we hate the media. This is why we hate the media. But here's the thing. Everyone's saying now we're going to go to social media. So now social media is the biggest thing ever. Mainstream media, what we consider mainstream media, the alphabet media outlets, they're dying. They are dying. They are a dying animal. And more people are getting into social media. And they say, well, because the mainstream media are a bunch of liars. But then you go to social media and you find even way more liars. Even way more liars than the mainstream media. At least with the mainstream media, they can say, well, we confirmed this and blah, 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 and this and that. We verified this story. You go on to Twitter and you got people saying, oh, yeah, they got migrants are running around just hunting cats down. And everyone's just focusing on the story. Hell, freaking Trump brought this up during the debate. Like, oh, the Haitians are killing cats. And I tried looking into it. Am I saying it doesn't happen? No, I am not saying it does not happen. I just haven't found confirmation. Somebody went onto Facebook and said, yeah, I heard that a cat was eaten or my cat was eaten, and boom, tons of people believe it. But you see, people say, I don't like the mainstream media because they're all a bunch of liars, yet they will believe anything that they see on Twitter as long as it confirms some sort of thought process that they have in their heads. They can believe all sorts of nonsense. Or they can believe in unconfirmed reports, and they can believe in rumors, as long as those rumors confirm whatever they have in their heads, they believe it. So why have you guys been saying for so many years that you don't believe in the mainstream media because the mainstream media are a bunch of liars when you're not even using your own function of discernment when looking at social media? I just don't get it. It's like that scene from The Patriot. It's a great movie. When Mel Gibson's character, Mr. Martin, goes there and he's in this big political meeting, and the Americans are debating whether or not they should declare war on Great Britain to do the revolution and get independence and all that. And Mel Gibson's character is one of the few guys who say, I don't think we should go to war with Britain. And people are calling him a coward or whatever. And Mel Gibson's character in that movie made a really good argument. And by the way, when the Revolutionary War was being debated, when the American Revolution was being debated on, this very argument was made. Mel Gibson's character says in this scene, why should I stop paying taxes to one tyrant who's thousands of miles away, only to pay taxes to 10,000 tyrants who are 10 miles away? In other words, yes, Great Britain is taxing us, and you guys don't want to pay taxes to Great Britain, or because you guys want taxation with representation and all that, but you guys don't want to pay taxes to Great Britain. And so you're going to get rid of Great Britain, but guess what? You're still going to be paying taxes. You're going to be paying taxes to local governments or a federal government, and you're still going to be paying taxes. Taxation is still going to be imposed. And you know what? It's amazing. You look at the American Revolution, which was hundreds of years ago, and they were revolting over taxation. And what are Americans complaining about today? Taxation. So it didn't really solve anything, did it? This is why I say I'm, for the most part, I am against revolutions. But anyway, that's a different topic. So going back to the quote, going back to the argument of why should I stop paying taxes to one tyrant who's 1,000 miles away or 10,000 miles away, only to pay taxes to 10,000 tyrants who are 10 miles away? I'm going to apply that argumentation to the media. Sure, the mainstream media has lied. Sure, the mainstream media has been dishonest. But why should I stop reading the mainstream media because of a few lies here and there, only to then go to social media and find endless lies and find people just endlessly spreading rumors or endlessly spreading unconfirmed reports? Could you find one story of a Haitian eating a cat? I'm sure you can. But is it like entire teams of Haitians going around hunting cat? No. No. Now, is it a problem? Now, here is the thing. This is what's really crazy to me. 20,000 Haitians in some small city in Ohio, Springfield, Ohio. That is crazy. That should not be happening, right? I don't have to be a liberal or a right-winger to notice that. I mean, that should not be happening. Springfield, Ohio's got what? What's the population of Springfield? Like 50,000, 54,000 people? That's not a big place. In American standards, that's not a big place. That's a small city. And you're putting in 20,000 Haitians. I have difficulty believing that this is not a conspiracy. And this is what I mean by the Matrix. Is there's all these different situations that are being engineered. All these different situations that are being engineered. And in my opinion, they are engineered to gain a reaction. I mean, there's no way that people thought, 20,000 Haitians in a small city in the Midwest. That's a great idea. That's not going to cause any problems. They know damn well it's going to cause problems, and it is causing problems. Now, the whole cat thing, that's a big story that went viral, or that's a unconfirmed story that went viral. But you look at what's happening. I saw a little documentary on what's been happening in Springfield. I mean, those Haitians, this has been confirmed. A lot of Haitians are getting into car accidents in Springfield. A lot of them. Lots of car accidents. And how in the hell are they getting licenses so easily? Again, I have difficulty believing that people thought that this was a great idea. And then you look at crime rates amongst Haitians in America. I mean, they always say, well, it's lower than the crime rate of the Native American population, not Native Indian, but like they say it's lower than the crime rate of of American citizens. But I've seen the numbers. It's not that impressive either. None of this is really a good idea. None of it is a good idea. So why are they doing this? Why? Well, it's because they want money. I'm sure there are those reasons, right? I'm sure there's some money that's being made. Sure. But you know damn well that this is going to cause a problem. And you see racism all of a sudden becoming popular. And you have people saying, oh, this is great. The American people need to stand up, or they see racism in the UK and they say, this is great. The British people need to stand up. And this is what I mean by the desert of the real, the scene from The Matrix. You guys are reacting, but you're reacting thinking that the reaction is good. You're thinking that the reaction is actually going to be beneficial. You're thinking that you people see racism and they say, "Oh, this is great." I mean, I did a video. I put up this video last night showing this Jewish extremist. What's his name? Yishai Fleischer. He's an American Jewish guy who lives in Hebron, in the West Bank. He lives in a settlement, and you think he's Jewish, right? A Jewish person would never make excuses for Nazism. And he plays a video on his channel showing a Norwegian guy doing the Hitler salute, the Nazi salute, and screaming "Sieg Heil." And Yishai Fleischer is sitting there saying, well, he's doing it as a response to pro-Palestine rallies, so we have to give him some sympathy here. It's like, whoa, what's going on? What's happening here? A Jewish person is making excuses for Nazi behavior? I'm living in the Twilight Zone. And we are. The thing is, we are living in the Twilight Zone, and we think that this is great. Many of us think that this is great. We see riots in the UK, and many of us think this is amazing. Wow, this is great. We think this is wonderful. And what I see is a bunch of people reacting in violent and destructive ways to government-engineered scenarios. And they're reacting in a way that people would react in such a scenario. But they think that it's good. And I'm here to tell you that it's not good. And the way that you're thinking is based on an illusion. The illusion is that this is actually good. And it's not. It's madness. A lot of you guys are living in madness. And you don't even see it. And I'm trying to take you to the desert of the real. And I'm watching the scene as I'm hearing the debate on the television, and I'm thinking, people are looking at this debate and they're like, "This is amazing." And like, no, guys, this is all just political theater. It's all political theater. It's not really, it's real, but it's not the full reality of what's happening. The full reality is that the world is becoming more and more radical. People are becoming more and more radical to the left. And that's why you have leftists saying that rioting is great if it's against the police. And that's an illusion. That's delusional and madness. Oh, we're for minorities, but you want to get rid of the police, and if you get rid of the police, the crime rate's going to explode, and then minorities are going to suffer, and then rich people are just going to pay for private security to keep themselves protected. And you know who's going to suffer? The people that you claim to be protecting. So you're also living in a delusion. Or you're just pure evil, or both. I mean, evil people are delusional. There's that great verse, I think it's in Ecclesiastes, that says something like, "And I sought to understand wisdom and madness." And that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to try to understand wisdom, but I'm also here to try to understand madness. And then you have the right-wingers who are becoming more and more radicalized. Yes, they're becoming more and more radicalized. I mean, when liberals bring up the Tiki Torch procession that happened back in 2017 in Charlottesville, they're right. That is not good. But you have righties who say, "Oh, well, it's not that bad." Guys, I remember when I first started reading up on far-right ideology, most people thought it was all just fringe. That party in Germany, the AfD party, it's basically a Nazi party. It's a repackaged Nazi party. That's what it is. But you have people. When I first started reading about them, they were considered fringe. They weren't growing that much. I mean, they were growing, but it was still a very small party. Now, they're one of the biggest parties in Germany. They're a mainstream party. The fringe is now moving into the mainstream. The Overton window is shifting. And a lot of you guys don't even see it. Because you're not in the desert of the real. You're in the matrix. And that's the thing. You have people saying, I'm escaping the matrix, and they're talking like this. They're still in the matrix. You know why? Because instead of saying, okay, let me just look at the news, look at social media, look at the mainstream media, and find confirmed stories. No. Because you can learn things from social media. Don't get me wrong. Not all social media is bad. I mean, I go to social media all the time. You can find all sorts of videos on Twitter, but you just gotta, or X, but you just gotta make sure that what you're seeing has been confirmed. That's all I'm saying. But no, you have people who are just, instead of being locked into the mainstream media, now they're just locked into social media. And they're in another simulation, so to speak. They're in another matrix. I mean, they're still dialed into the matrix. They're still hooked in. And because there's way more lying on social media than on mainstream media, you guys are even more and more entrenched into delusion than you thought. I mean, people are becoming more and more delusional. Listen, I know people personally who have come to me and they say, oh, do you hear this story about like some migrants and what they're doing? And like, have you confirmed anything? No, you haven't confirmed anything. I just saw it on Twitter. I saw it on Facebook. This is even more delusional than before. Back in the day, before social media, before all the news was on iPhones, people read newspapers. People read newspapers, New York Times, or they read Time Magazine, National Geographic. They read all this stuff. People in those days were far more articulate. They were way more intelligent, in my opinion. They were more intelligent. Nowadays, yes, people are more suspicious of government in positive ways. So, for example, if the government says we need to go to war with Iran, you're going to have way more resistance than before because people are on social media and they're reading news outlets from other countries. So, in a way, people are more intelligent about certain things. But people, in other ways, people are becoming more and more delusional and more radical. And that can lead to massive deception. And they think that they're smart, but they're just following deception. For example, a lot of you guys follow Douglas Murray, and Douglas Murray is telling people the people must go out and act brutally towards pro-Palestinian protesters. Like, why are you following this guy? This guy's a mobster. This guy is a evil, power-hungry despot. But people follow him. They think he's great. But people are becoming just delusional. And when I first started reading about this stuff, right-wing ideology and all this stuff, I read about this book called The Camp of the Saints. And the book is about people from the third world moving to France and basically taking it over. And there's some violence that happens between the white French people and the third world migrants and all that stuff. There's sort of a race war situation taking place in the book. But the book is there. The purpose of the book, the whole motivation of the book, it's French. The book was written in France back in the 70s, and the whole purpose of the book was to foment racial hatred, racial tension. That's the purpose of the book. And I now see people who 10 years ago had no idea about any of this stuff, and they're now reading this literature. People in America now reading this literature. People in America who are just regular people, they had no idea about any of this stuff, are now getting into far-right ideology. People who I've known in real life. Now, I'm not even talking about people that I've known online. I'm talking about people that I know in real life. I've seen this myself. People getting into, oh, have you read this book? I've had people say, oh, have you read this book? And you look at the book and it's like some crazy sick stuff from the European New Right, which is just repackaged Nazism. And you look at them and you say, wait a second, like, what is this not random, but what is this average American sitting there knowing about far-right literature from the European New Right? Which is stuff that people in France, right-wingers in France will read, or right-wingers in Germany will read. Now all of a sudden you're seeing it in America. It's becoming more and more prevalent. People are getting more and more radicalized. And what is what is acting as a catalyst towards this? A lot of it is these crazy ass policies like bringing in 20 or allowing 20,000 Haitians to move into a small town where you have a lot of poor Americans living. I mean, there's no way people thought that this was a good idea. It's not a good idea. Now, I'm not saying are all the Haitians bad? Obviously not. I'm sure 100% there are good people who are Haitian. Absolutely. Not saying they're all bad. I'm just saying that when you take 20,000 people from a country that has a completely different culture from the country that you're living in, and you park them, you allow them to live in a small city where you got a lot of poor folks, it is expected that people are going to be driven more and more into racism. Now, they choose to be racist. I'm not saying that they don't have any agency. They freaking choose it because it's in them already. But you gave them a justification to be that way. That's what I'm saying. And that's the problem. And a lot of people are getting into this stuff. It's becoming very prevalent. Very prevalent. To the point where you have Americans saying that they love the AFD. And they're saying, oh, the media is saying that the AFD are Nazis. They're not really Nazis. They're just patriots. And if you just take an hour to actually read about the AFD, you will see anybody with a half a brain cell that's functioning could see that these people are Nazis. You read about the fact that one of their leaders was found dancing on top of a Holocaust memorial. Their biggest leader, Bjorn Holke, says that Holocaust memorials are just basically like that they shouldn't even really be around. He's against Holocaust memorials. When you have one AFD leader saying, Hitler, please come back. I mean, you look at all these stories, it's very obvious these people are Nazis. But you got people saying that this is great. That's the delusion. That's the delusion that people are living in, and people are getting deeper and deeper and deeper into delusion. And it really worries me. I mean, it worries me. It really does. And they think that they're living in reality. They think that they are rooted in truth, when in fact they're just being led astray. And that's what I'm trying to warn you guys about. Anyway, you guys just heard some theology. God bless.